Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a very specific kind of behavior, one that's, incredibly easy to misunderstand until it's way too late. This is all about recognizing a quiet kind of harm and learning how to see it early.
It never starts how you think it would. There are some people who don't just storm into your life, they kind of seep into it. They find the little cracks, the empty spaces, and they just fill them. They become part of your world before you even realize what's happening. The damage they do, it isn't loud. It's not some big, explosive fight. No, it's subtle. It's the kind of thing that just builds up over time, piece by tiny piece, so gradually you might not even notice what you've lost until it's already gone. And that right there is the most dangerous part. This whole thing happens quietly. It's disguised not as an attack, but as the very thing we all look for: connection. This is their superpower. They have this almost bizarre ability to just see you, to mirror back your hopes, your fears, your biggest dreams. And it feels incredible, right? Like you finally met someone who just gets you. That feeling is intoxicating. But it isn't a connection. It's a study. They're studying you. And that's the trap. By the time your gut starts screaming that something is wrong, you're already in it. You're invested. You're already making excuses for them, explaining away all these little things you shouldn't have to. The bond feels too real to question. And that is completely by design. So how do we make sense of this? Well, here's our plan. First, we'll give this quiet harm a name. Then we'll dig into the 3 different faces it can wear. After that, we get to the really critical part, the 7 early warning signs. And finally, we'll talk about a real strategy to protect yourself and how to build your own sense of clarity through it all. All right, let's put a name to this thing we're talking about. In psychology, there's actually a formal term for this cluster of traits. And really, understanding the term is the first step to being able to spot it in the wild.
It's called the Dark Triad. It's basically a shorthand for 3 distinct, but often overlapping personality types that almost always end up causing harm. It all comes down to a really simple but toxic recipe: very low empathy, incredibly high manipulation, and a total focus on themselves. This isn't just someone having a bad day. This is their fundamental operating system.
So what are the 3 types? Well, you've probably heard of them: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Each one looks and acts a little different on the surface, but underneath, they all share that same core structure we just talked about. And this is so important to get. Look, we all have some of these traits in us somewhere, right? But what we're talking about here is when they bundle together at really high levels. When that happens, you're not just dealing with a difficult person. You're dealing with a predictable, repeatable pattern of exploitation. And that's really the challenge, isn't it? You will cross paths with people like this. They're often in positions of power or influence. So the real question isn't, how do I avoid them? It's, how do I see the pattern before I'm caught in the middle of it? Okay, let's break down each of these 3 faces, because understanding what drives each one is the key to telling them apart. First up, narcissism. This one's probably the one we hear about the most, but it goes so much deeper than just vanity. For a narcissist, their entire sense of self is external. They need a constant supply of admiration and attention just to feel like they exist. It's not a want, it's a deep, desperate need. It's like oxygen for them. So in their world, you have a job. Your job is to be a mirror, reflecting back the perfect, amazing version of themselves they need to see. And as long as you do that, you are golden. But the second that mirror cracks, maybe you have a different opinion or a need of your own, all that warmth just vanishes instantly. Next, we have Machiavellianism. And this one can be the hardest to spot because it doesn't look emotional, it looks smart. These are the master strategists. They are patient, they are calculating, they listen so carefully, they remember every little detail, but it's all just data collection for some long-term game they're playing. To someone high in this trait, relationships aren't really about connection. They're structures, things to be built and used to get to a goal. They don't have those impulsive emotional reactions a narcissist might. They wait, they plan, and that makes them incredibly deceptive. And finally, there's psychopathy. This is probably the most misunderstood of the 3. We think of chaos and violence, but often it's the exact opposite. They can be incredibly charming, super confident, and bizarrely calm under pressure. And the reason for that is unsettling. It's because they're missing the emotional weight of things like guilt or anxiety or remorse.
They literally have no internal brakes, and that gives them a kind of scary social freedom.
So we've defined the types. Now for what might be the most important section of all. How do you actually spot this pattern early on? Let's connect the clues with 7 really specific warning signs.
Number 1. You feel this overwhelming sense of being understood, like right away. It feels magical, like you've met your soulmate. But real, genuine connection takes time to build. This instant, too good to be true version, that's usually precision mirroring. They are literally just reflecting your own personality and values right back at you.
Number 2.
Pay close attention to how they treat people who they think don't matter. They might be the most charming person in the world to you, but then they're rude or dismissive to a waiter or a cashier. That difference isn't just them having an off moment. It's a peek behind the mask. It's showing you exactly how they treat people they have no use for.
Okay, number 3.
Listen to the stories they tell about their past. If every single ex was crazy, every boss was an idiot, and every problem was always somebody else's fault, you're not listening to their history. You're listening to a script, a total, complete lack of personal accountability.
Number 4.
Their empathy just feels a little off. They might say the perfect thing in the moment to show they care, but then watch what happens a minute later. The focus snaps right back to them. It's like a performance. It's a tool they use, not something they actually feel.
Coming in at number 5. They'll test your boundaries right from the start, but with really small things. A little joke that goes a bit too far, asking for a favor that makes you feel just a little bit awkward. These aren't accidents. They're probes. They're measuring you to see what they can get away with.
Number 6. You'll get the classic non-apology. I'm sorry you feel that way. Let's be clear, that is not an apology. It's a way to put the blame back on you for your reaction while they take zero responsibility for their action. It's a classic for a reason.
And finally, number 7.
You find yourself feeling this subtle sense of obligation to them, like you somehow owe them. Maybe they did you some huge, unsolicited favor or gave you an over-the-top compliment. That feeling isn't an accident. It was created on purpose to give them leverage over you.
Okay, so you're seeing some of the signs, now what? The natural instinct is to confront them, but that is often the absolute worst thing you can do. The right response has to be strategic. It has to be focused on keeping you safe.
Here's a 4-step playbook. First, and this is huge, do not confront them. Your awareness is there to protect you, not to educate them. Confrontation just gives them more information and ammo to use against you. Second, focus on the pattern. Stop making excuses or looking at the exceptions. What is their behavior over time? That's the truth. Third, reduce their access to you. And I mean more than just less texting. Stop sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your inner world. That's the fuel they use. And finally, step 4, become emotionally neutral. It's called the gray rock method. No big reactions, positive or negative. You give them nothing, and their fire has no fuel. They lose all their power. So let's wrap all this up with the most important part. This isn't about becoming suspicious of everyone you meet. It's about developing a really strong internal compass.
The whole reason this personality structure is so powerful is because it's camouflaged. It hides behind the very things we're drawn to: charm, intelligence, that feeling of a deep connection. That's what makes it so effective and so damaging. But once you know how the trick works, the camouflage starts to fade.
And let's be really, really clear on this. The point of this isn't to make you paranoid or to make you distrust every new person you meet. The goal is the total opposite. It's to help you become so clear on what healthy, genuine connection feels like that you can instantly tell when something's not right. This is about empowerment, not fear. And that brings us to the final thought. Someone who benefits from keeping you confused will never, ever offer you clarity. It's just not in their interest. That clarity about what is and isn't okay, about what you will and will not accept in your life, that is something you have to build for yourself. And in the end, that is your ultimate protection.